we got breaking news this morning. This morning we found out that the WWE and Netflix are officially in business together. From Reuters here, I should bring something quick. Netflix took a big step into live events on Tuesday with more than $5 billion rights deal to make it its exclusive home of Raw Wrestling Entertainment's Raw from January 2025. The 10-year partnership will put Raw on the streaming platform in the U.S., Canada, Britain, and Latin America, among other territories, the company said. Netflix will also exclusively telecast outside of the U.S. all WWE shows and specials, including SmackDown, as well as pay-per-views, live events such as WrestleMania and Royal Rumble. All right, so this is the way I gather that whole thing is that basically Peacock outside of the U.S. is pretty much done, right? I'm assuming
they never existed.
Okay, that is true. WWE Network still exists outside the U.S.
Yes,
which by the way I still miss for the record.
Solely
because of the layout of the chapters and the way they lay out all the
functionality
shows.
was much better.
Correct. But again, I'm gonna say this one more time. I can't believe I live in a world in 2024, even post-COVID, where wrestling, moreover WWE, still finds ways to create new revenue. If you had told me back in 1988, 89, well, I was a little young at the time, but that wrestling will be such a viable thing where it's a necessity for entertainment for companies to have, I would have said, nah, no way. If you asked that in 1999, I would have said no at 19 years old. We're here. And this shit, again, they deal Peacock in 2021. And, that's $5 billion at the time. This one now with Netflix, I mean, it is impressive that we are living in a world where wrestling and WWE still matters in a big way with these major companies. It's fascinating. And someone like myself who was away for 17 years between 2002 and 2019, and still seeing how viable it is to this day. It's truly impressive. Rob, any thoughts on the deal?
Yeah. So all right. So here's. I know some people I talked to were thinking it'd be Amazon Prime, and I never thought it was going to be that. Because the thing about going to streaming, okay, when you're on network, it's kind of like you'll get a bigger audience on network just because people are more habitually, even though people don't watch network TV like they used to, the people who do watch network TV will find you. Okay.
Right.
So going to streaming, you are more than likely going to take some type of audience hit numerically. I think Netflix, that hit would be smaller than going to Prime. And because with Prime, if you look at the NFL numbers on Prime, they get around 15 million. And that's after a couple of years of increases. Whereas you look at some of these, you put these same games on network TV and it's more. Okay. So now, and with WWE, we're talking about Raw right now on basic cable gets anywhere, depending on what part of the year it is, 1.5 to 1.9 million. If you shave something off of that going to streaming, then we're talking lower numbers, and that's fewer people that are seeing you, which means fewer customers for the future, et cetera, et cetera. Okay. Now this really got in motion when Fox decided they didn't want to continue on. I think that's what really started setting this in motion, because Fox said they weren't getting ad revenue, even though SmackDown's highest rated. A lot of times SmackDown's highest rated show on Friday night, period. But they said they weren't getting ad revenue. They didn't want to continue. And then so SmackDown, they got SmackDown USA for 1.4 billion, which was not what they were hoping for. So they had to find to get the money you want, you got to start looking elsewhere. And at $5 billion over 10 years, that's $500 million a year. That's a better value for Netflix than to continue to keep trying to make these movies and original series. It's a better value for them. And
it's consistent too, because you're going to get that show every single week. We learned through COVID that wrestling never ends.
Yes, it's year round. It's 52 weeks. And so you get better value per episode. Ultimately you end up paying, less money per episode when you stretch it across 52 weeks. It's a better value. So it's a better value for Netflix than to continue to pour money into these original, series and movies that they've been making. It's obviously a better value for WWE because they doubled their money, which is what they were aiming to do the whole time. And so I think it's a win-win for everybody. And again, it's an excellent move, and it's just the question is just when the Peacock deal is up in the United States, will they migrate everything over to Netflix and in the US also? Because Netflix is going to house everything outside of the US. So it's just a question: if they're going to bring everything over to Peacock. I mean, I'm not bringing it from Peacock to Netflix in the United States when the Peacock deal is up. That's the biggest question.
Right. All right. Duke, your thoughts on this?
Well, first and foremost, congratulations to WWE. It's fantastic. That was the right move. And I think that other promotions will benefit from this. The wrestling industry as a whole is in bad shape right now. I actually completely disagree with what you were saying earlier, EJ.
About
most wrestlers are not making money. I'm privy to conversations with wrestlers on the independent wrestling scene who are literally being told, well, you can come work my show for exposure. I'm privy to conversations with promoters who are literally taking food off of their own table just to put on wrestling events because they want to say they're a wrestling promoter. The industry is not in good shape. It's just not. We know that All Elite Wrestling has to be run out of Tony Khan's pocket, his daddy's pocket, because he still can't figure out how to make that company profitable. And he admitted it. He needs a significant increase on his TV rights in the United States in order for the company to be profitable day to day. That's allegedly the number 2 company in pro wrestling. So WWE is its own separate thing, and that's always been Vince McMahon's vision. Make it bigger than wrestling. It's not wrestling, it's sports entertainment. His entire business model is completely counter to the pro wrestling business model. We know that because no other wrestling company has been able to accomplish what they've accomplished. So that tells you everything you need to know. So I think that we have to be careful not to look at WWE's success and automatically assume that that's a good indicator for the industry in terms of how healthy it is. It's not healthy. It's the complete opposite of healthy because we're not a healthy country right now. You know what I mean? Despite what they say with the jobs report, a lot of people are in bad financial shape. They can't afford entertainment like pro wrestling to go live and support it in that manner. So if you are depending on that, you ain't going to get it. You know what I mean? So given that point, though, what WWE just did is incredible. They just completely fooled Netflix into investing in something that will not give them the return on investment. There's no possible way that WWE is going to add subscribers to Netflix. They already have around 247 million subscribers worldwide. WWE's not going to add more subscribers. They may get people to watch Netflix a little bit more because they want to see WWE content. But to Rob's point, you're going to need to get SmackDown, and you're going to need to be able to air everything that happens in the United States in order for that to make sense.
So Raw averages between 1.5, 1.9, 2 million a week, right? You got to figure at least 30% of that numbers in these maybe consider adding Netflix to their, if they don't have it already.
No, they have it already. They have it already. It's no. Listen,
anyone
who's watching Raw already is paying for cable TV. It's not like they can't pay for Netflix. They already are.
Right, but Netflix also has lost subscribers in the last year or two because of the rule changes that they've done recently too. Well, so I'm wondering if
47 million people have Netflix.
Is that right now? Or is that after? Is that after we went through last year with all the?
Yes, that's right now. That's according to the last quarter. 247 million.
I can definitely see a slight bump. I do think though this is going to be a gateway for Netflix for other things, live sports on the road.
I agree with that. They're going to be able to advertise other things on WWE programming, which may make up the difference. Right. But this whole notion that less people are going to watch Raw is embarrassing. You got 247 million people, not even people, households.
Well, the problem
that have access to you.
The problem is Netflix.
More people are going to watch Raw. There's no
issue.
Just statistically, we got the mathematician here. It's going to be there. You know what I mean? It's already a viable product that people watch. They're going to have more people.
Does Netflix release their numbers though?
They shouldn't. They don't have to. And even if they release numbers, we don't know. Proof.
Right.
There's no third party that can verify that. So numbers don't matter. This whole nonsense about the numbers. No, there's other ways that they measure, and there's a cross section of measurements that they utilize. Not to ignore the fact that there are other investments that they do. What if Netflix is getting a piece of the live attendance as well? That's what's happening with WBD and AEW. They're getting a piece of the other side of the action. It's not just people watching on TV. WBD would never make money if that were the case. They are actually investing in the company as a whole. And I guarantee you that's what's happening with this deal with Netflix as well. The fact that WWE gave them international airing rights is crazy to me, because that actually makes the value of this deal less than what we are looking at. That's incredible that they gave that away as part of this package.
You're saying, so what you're saying to me is that WWE basically swindled Netflix here.
Of course they did, but you know, to a certain degree, Netflix might be able to make it back on the back end. You know, now here's the funny part: Netflix in 5 years can decide that they're not going to continue.
Does it opt out?
Yeah, they've opted out.
Well, it's not that. I don't think it's an opt out of the entire deal. I think they start negotiating the next deal in 5 years.
The Peacock deal ends in 26, right?
I think it's either 26 or 27, but I think it's 26. Yeah.
Do you think they'll re-up with Peacock?
I don't think that would make sense unless.
Let me ask a question. Let me rephrase that question. Has it been a positive relationship so far? Peacock and
yes.
WWE? Seems to have.
Peacock has benefited greatly because The Office was a bust. Peacock spent so much money on bringing in The Office, that TV show, assuming that people were going to flock to Peacock to watch The Office, and they'll stick around and watch other programming. It's actually been the WWE live events that has done that far more than what The Office has done. So from Peacock's standpoint, it's been a success. Now, is it worth the money that Netflix is willing to pay? We'll see. You know what I mean? Because there's going to have to be an increase on those rights going forward.
Yeah.
But for Peacock, they needed it because what they're starting to see is a slight increase in the number of subscribers that they have, which they attribute to the WWE and to other live sports.
All right. Well, I mean, it's weird. Netflix and WWE, you know, we kind of saw the treaties of this years ago, like with streaming and, you know, obviously, and with Peacock, you know, and now with Netflix. I mean, it's just weird to see it now actually come to fruition. You know what I mean? So
yeah, and I don't think there are going to be a lot of people getting Netflix. People who don't have Netflix now, I don't think people are going to start subscribing to Netflix just to see Monday Night Raw.
You'll see a slight bump.
Agreed.
That's it.
Nah, there's
Slight
no bump.
bump.
There's no bump to happen. There's no bump unless it's free. There's no bump.
Not just to see Monday Night Raw.
Raw is not that important.
I'll say this much:
not just for one show.
Someone like me who doesn't have Netflix, who canceled Netflix like a year ago, I will consider adding it to my.
What are you going to give up?
Don't know yet. I have to decide.
And
you see that?
And are you going to do that just for Monday Night Raw?
Well, if I decide to watch, it depends. Well, it depends on the product too, also, because I don't watch Raw regularly now as is anyway.
See,
so
okay, and that's the danger of going to, even though you don't watch Raw regularly right now, but the risk of just moving your show to somewhere else, not even necessarily to streaming, the risk of moving it somewhere else,
right,
is that you lose some people in the transition who, like, you know, because look, any long running show, there are always people who just watch it because it's there. Okay, I mean, and you know, these you know, CSI, NCIS, and, you know, Law and Order stuff and all that on NBC and CBS. There are people who watch those shows because you know why? Because I can turn to NBC on Thursday night and there's good old Law and Order. It's right there. And if I turn to NBC one Thursday night and there ain't no more Law and Order, I'm not necessarily going to go find where Law and Order went.
You're adding potentially 200 million more eyeballs, bro. What are you talking about? There's far less people that have access to USA Network than that are currently paying for Netflix.
I said NBC. Did I not say NBC?
NBC what?
It's Universal.
Did I not say NBC?
They own USA. I'm saying in the case of Raw, WWE is
I was talking
adding
about Law
more
and
people.
Order. I was talking about Law and Order. And Netflix has like 77,000 subscribers, not 1,000 million in the US, not 200 million. Okay.
Well, I just said 200 million worldwide.
Yeah, but we're talking about in the US here. Okay.
Okay, but they still got more in the US than who have access to USA Network. So the point still remains. You just added more. You're not taking away, you're adding. It's a
But
plus.
subscribers are not don't mean active users either, though. And you're talking about a percentage of a percentage.
You got to
Okay.
pay for Netflix, bro. It ain't like it's Peacock where
And
you get
there
it
are
for
people,
free as
and
part of your package.
there are people who have streaming platforms who they barely use anymore, and they got them at the time when there was a sale or whatever, and they barely use them. I mean, there are people
I just
who do that.
increased the possibility of people being able to watch my programming. There's more available people than where it's been.
Okay, so look, I do this.
It's not a loss.
Look up Twitter. Look up people with Twitter accounts versus how many people actually use Twitter every day. Okay, look that up.
Yeah, but those you can't compare a social media thing, bro. You got trolls and people who have multiple accounts and stuff. That's
But
not
it-
an accurate
no,
representation.
No,
No one has multiple Netflix accounts. What are you talking about?
I'm just never mind. Okay, I just what, never mind. Just okay. Number of subscribers does not
He
equal
ain't ready.
number.
He ain't ready for prime time.
Number of subscribers does not equal number of users. We're talking 77 million in the United States.
Paying for it, bro.
It's a win for WWE.
And there are people.
There's no risk WWE at this point because the hardcore wrestling fans they're gonna go for it. Whether they'll get it no matter what. They're not gonna lose much on this, honestly.
Well, they're getting paid for it, so it's not.
That's what I'm saying.
I mean,
Yeah.
they're getting their money whether people migrate over there or not.
Yeah, right.
They're getting their money.
Smartest thing they ever did.
Yeah.
Nick Khan, he's the greatest of all time.
You
really
get
is.
your money. You lock your money in for however many years you can get it locked in for, and then
Right.
if the viewership doesn't pan out the way it was expected, then you deal with that later.
Bro, I guarantee you this is not a viewership thing. I think that there are other things in place
Oh, I agree. Yeah,
that they're looking for. I don't think they brought in WWE to quote unquote add viewers. I just don't think that's true.
It's to get their foot in the door with live.
Yes, right. I think this is the first step to live
Saudi
sports.
Arabia. This is Saudi Arabia.
Because
right?
the NBA has a new deal coming very soon too. Also, TV deal coming very soon as well.
Yeah, their
So
rights
just
are up.
saying.
Yeah.
The same.
But Saudi Arabia pays WWE $50 million per event. And that doesn't even count what they spend on the set and all that other extra stuff.
Yeah.
Right? Yep. Why do they do that? It's not because WWE is generating over $50 million in revenue back. It's to open the door for other sports. And it's worked.
Yeah. Exactly.
So, you know what I mean?
And simply put, WWE is a gateway to a lot of things.
Yeah.
You know what WWE is? WWE is the online pornography business, right? When we look at the way that e-commerce has evolved in history, it all started with porn. Using your credit cards online and doing all these other things and figuring out the whole streaming and all that stuff. Porn was at the forefront of all that stuff. They tested it with porn. And once it worked, that's when you opened it up to other industry.
Yeah.
So in a lot of ways, the WWE is very similar and being utilized that way. They're the test.
That's a great point. That's a great point.
Well, and to that note, I mean, one thing, WWE and under Vince, they've been like often many times they've been the first ones to really dive into whatever the new distribution system was.
Sure.
Like with syndication, with pay-per-view, with streaming, with having their own streaming service, and then just realizing that having your own streaming service is not the greatest thing to do to make a profit, and you're better off just licensing your content to somebody and have them host it. Which, I mean, because look, I mean, the whole streaming service business is, I think Netflix is like the only streamer that turns a profit regularly. I mean, it's because it's a shell game basically. You're hoping, you promise people all this content for this really low price, and with the idea that you'll just make up for the low price, you'll make it up with volume as far as subscribers. But none of these services have ever they don't reach the volume. Even the ones that are gaining subscribers, like Disney Plus is still losing money, right? I mean, like they never you're not going to hit the volume to make up for the price, and which is why Amazon
they will. I think probably will eventually as they raise prices. They continue to do that.
We're going to raise prices. Like Amazon is having ads now, and so it's eventually
they have to combine as well, right? They got to buy each other out.
Bundle everything too. Also, ESPN
and there'll be consolidation, and ultimately
turning the cable.
Yeah, I mean, except for literally like the physical method of it being broadcast. That'll be the only difference. Is that it'll be streamed instead of beamed into your house through a cable. Right. But but eventually the structure and all will be the same.